The Syrian army is supported by Russian jets from the air. In the latest sorties, more than 100 terror targets were destroyed. That's according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Warplanes bombed bases, transit points and arms depots, including a command post of the Al-Qaeda's Syrian branch. Well, since Moscow started its air campaign in Syria, some media outlets have been publishing reports saying that Russian jets have hit Syrian hospitals, while the Wall Street Journal and the International Business Times ran with the story, saying that medical staff and civilians were killed. Russia's defense ministry has denied all allegations. We contacted the director of the operations of the Red Cross, which has people on the ground in Syria, to clear up the claims.
We've seen these reports as well, but in the absence of any first-hand information coming from our teams on the ground, I can neither confirm nor deny these allegations. What I can say is that international humanitarian law fully applies to airstrikes undertaken by any party in Syria, including third parties like Russia. And our teams on the ground, in addition to providing large-scale humanitarian assistance, are also monitoring the conduct of hostilities, the use of force, and in case we have concerns, we will share them directly in a bilateral and confidential dialogue with the relevant party.
RT got a first-hand account from the ancient city of Palmyra in Syria, which is under ISIL control. The terrorist group has been systematically destroying UNESCO heritage site. It's now the front line of the Syrian army. RT's Lizzie Phelan, she's one of the first international correspondents to gain access to the area.
We can see some of the Islamic State fighters on the hill. Just beyond there is that important UNESCO heritage site that has been under the control of the Islamic State since May. And just on Tuesday, they tried out one of their new killing methods when they tied 3 of their prisoners that the army is telling us was 3 Syrian army soldiers to some of the columns that are part of that site, and they blew them up one by one.
Lethal stunts like this have become the hallmark of the Islamic State's PR drive to terrorize its opponents. A few days before, the group released a video of their fighters crashing another Syrian soldier's body under the tracks of a tank. The rest of the time, here in Palmyra, their killing tools are sniper fire, artillery and mortars that rain down on the front line, and just meters away from where we were filming.
The mortar just landed over there. Landed just next to our car.
The shrapnel injured one of the Syrian army soldiers who live in makeshift shelters on the front line. For the past 5 months, from these caves, they have denied the terrorists their desired advance towards Homs.
The soldiers living here are living in extremely difficult conditions. Not only are they in extreme danger living here in this front line, you can see that they're living in homes carved out of the rock. In desert conditions, it's extremely hot in the day and extremely cold at night, and they stay here for months on end away from their families.
In spite of the losses they've suffered and facing death every minute, the soldiers told us that their spirits remained high.
The army is preparing for an imminent offensive to retake Palmyra, but of course that operation is extremely sensitive, given the reports that the Islamic State have laden the ruins with explosives, so that when the army goes on the offensive, they can blow up this precious piece of history once and for all.
Ways to prevent the destruction of heritage are part of the militarist plan. It's top secret and cannot be disclosed right now.
General Fouad says the time for the offensive is ripe.
On the front line, the results of Russia's airstrikes can be seen by the naked eye, like the burning targets and armed terrorists running away amid the strikes. We also hear their screams through communication devices as they call for help and reinforcements. Their morale is weakening.
Lizzie Phelan in Palmyra, Syria, RT.
This month, Islamic State fighters blew up one of the jewels of Palmyra, the Ark of Triumph. The monument dated back to the Roman Empire, and it's not the only antiquity being mourned in the desert city known as the Venice of the Sands. The Temple of Bel, one of the world's most significant pieces of architecture, was reduced to rubble by the terrorists. The president of Society for Historical Archaeology at the East Carolina University says trafficking antiquities is actually the main source of income for the terrorist group.
The loss of human life is horrible and tragic, but compounding the human tragedy here is the loss of the cultural heritage, the loss of our shared past. I don't think you can overestimate the tragedy of both losses. And not only are they destroying the sites, but they're also looting the sites and selling the artifacts from them to further finance their work. So I would plead with anyone who's in the market for ancient artifacts to just consider that by buying these artifacts, you're supporting what ISIS is all about.